It's not that I'm not out there a lot over this. I don't know if the people run through the streets and like this constantly. I don't know. But people like how the boys are performing, how the boys are playing, and people love the results. For sure, that's all clear. But nobody. I think it's a lack of respect to think that our fans want to know now. Or want to celebrate now already, like this, we will do it. We are not the group we were 10, 15 years ago, or even 20 years ago. We are not. It's different. And we are in a really good position in that group of challengers. That's it.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Fake crowd noise? The Emirates never sounded so good. Gamble responsibly. See www.lut.net.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Well, Neymar's just woken up a little bit. He's just chopped inside. McTominay then cut outside Wan-Bissaka and curled one into the top right-hand corner. But David De Gea got an arm to it, so it went out for a corner. That one of the better chances this match. 48 minutes on the clock. Second half has just started. PSG have come out with intent in these opening 3 minutes. Manchester United's back five, last-ditch stuff from them at the moment. But they are 1-0 up, Manchester United. And were pretty good in that first half against the likes of Mbappe and Di Maria and Neymar. They have a back five this evening. Split strikers, Martial and Rashford. And they have done okay. Lots of really good passages. Bruno Fernandes, captain for the evening, with a penalty, which he was allowed to retake after missing the initial spot kick. Elsewhere in Manchester United's group, Leipzig, of course, semi-finalists last year, they're 2-0 up against Istanbul. We have Barcelona against Fradi of Hungary. They are 2-0 up. Messi with a penalty and Ansu Fati with his second Champions League goal at the age of 17. In that same group, Group G, Juventus 2-0 up away to Dinamo Kiev. Alvaro Morata with both of Juve's goals this evening. Elsewhere, Lazio 2-0 up on Borussia Dortmund tonight. Club Brugge 2-1 winners against Zenit in that group, Group F. And then Group E this evening, Chelsea at Stamford Bridge are 0-0 currently against Sevilla. Also 49 minutes gone in that game. Later on, we'll hear from Rianna Jarrett. Huge week for the Irish team and Vera Pauw's side as they look to make the Euros. But first, football writer John Brewin is with us. It's been a while. How are you doing, John?
I'm okay, Joe. How are you?
I'm very well. Are you keeping tabs on events in Paris?
Yeah, I watched the first half, and I had to break off to speak to you, but I agree with your summation there. United did okay, and that's perhaps a little against my expectation. We sometimes criticise Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, don't we, for a lack of tactical innovation, but it's worked tonight. Luke Shaw playing off the left of the defensive three, I always think that looks his best position. He perhaps hasn't got the engine to get up and down the pitch, and Alex Telles playing at left back has looked pretty decent, and I suppose it's telling, no pun intended, that he's been taking all the corners. So obviously in training they've pinpointed that he's good with the dead ball. So that was a promising first half, yeah.
I agree with you on Shaw. I mean, he looks okay at left back, cumbersome enough at times, and then has a few good moments, and you think, oh, we're going to see more of this from Shaw. But he's never managed to kick on and do it consistently, but a lot more comfortable in that back five. And then the other big news, of course, is that Pogba's on the bench. You know, we were talking with Philippe Auclair pre-kickoff, and he was just saying how well Pogba had played for France across the international break. And yet it just ain't happening for him in the Manchester United jersey at the moment.
No. He was particularly wishy-washy against Newcastle in a game when most of the rest of the players played well. I mean, the thing is, with Pogba, I mean, Manchester United have signed Donny van de Beek, and I would suggest that most Manchester United players would like to see him given a proper spin, but him and Paul Pogba are essentially competing for the same position, even though Pogba's not playing tonight. I think in a non-COVID world, Paul Pogba would have been shifted on somewhere, perhaps not Real Madrid, but maybe back to Juventus or somewhere like that. But United triggered that contract, didn't they, the other day? But that's pretty much to protect his price. No. Are they going to get 89 million for him when they finally get rid of him? I suggest not. At this point, we've got to look on Paul Pogba as a flop signing for Manchester United. A reasonable first season, but I actually think his best performance came in 45 minutes, which was in that Manchester derby in which United came back to win 3-2, having been 2-0 down in the 2017-18 season. It's a long time ago now, that type of performance.
So what United are doing this evening, in light of their injuries, amongst other things, is that formation that Solskjaer sometimes goes to when they're under the cosh, when they're away from home. The split strikers up front, memorably against Spurs away early on in his tenure, when De Gea made about 6 trillion saves in the second half. He went with that formation and 5 at the back, and it's limited, but it does a job, especially against better opposition. So this evening, when he's looking at his 3 midfielders, he has clearly made the decision against PSG and all their firepower. I have room for one creative force in there and then 2 players with legs who I can trust. McTominay and Fred are those 2 players. And so it came down to Bruno as his core creative outlet versus Pogba. And I think, you take away the amounts of money spent on both. I really don't think there's a Manchester United fan out there who would argue at the moment that Pogba is more likely to be the creative force than Bruno. And that's kind of shocking, damning. Like, you've Ander Herrera talking pre-game about how Pogba should be winning Ballon d'Ors very soon. He's nowhere near that.
No, when you look back on Pogba, I remember seeing him play at the 2014 World Cup, and he was, I suppose, a coming force in the game, and there was a lot of talk about how Manchester United actually let the player go. 2 years he's back in Manchester, but it's not even comparable, is it? Bruno Fernandes wasn't cheap. The fee, it went up to sort of almost 80 million or something around that. The deal was worth that, but the rate of productivity that Bruno's produced for United in the short while he's been there, he only joined them at the beginning of 2020. Paul Pogba's never produced a run of form like that. And the thing is with Fernandes, okay, he has dropped off a bit since how good he was during Project Restart and in those early months back in January and February, but he's still shown for the team, and there is, he's got the captain's armband on tonight. There is that element that he adds, that leadership, and there's been those moments, haven't there, where Bruno Fernandes has been the guy going over to tell people off, almost Roy Keane style, and that's something that Manchester United have lacked, and they certainly don't get that from Paul Pogba.
I mentioned there that PSG had started the second half with intent. It has paid off. Martial has scored an own goal. You mentioned Roy Keane. It's not dissimilar to Roy Keane's header against Juventus in the 1999 Champions League semi-final, only it's into his own net. Neymar with the corner. Martial rises highest, flicks it into the far corner, and then looks on in despair. So it's 1-1 in Paris. Listen, I have a few things to throw at you. Okay. First of all, this season is going to be a bit mad, isn't it? Strange things are going to happen, and you can give your various reasons as to why that might be. It's really hard to know for sure. But so Everton, Aston Villa. Villa play Leeds this Friday night. 7-2 winners against Liverpool. They've beaten Leicester, Sheffield United, Fulham. Everton, fresh from draw in the Merseyside derby, have put up some big scores. West Brom 5-2, Brighton 4-2. James is doing his thing. And then the question, I suppose, is to what extent are Liverpool damaged now? Because when they took a bit of a slight lead initially ahead of Man City and Manchester United, you thought, oh my goodness me, this is going to be a stroll for Liverpool again. And now both the likes of City and United, despite their wobbles, when they win their games in hand, if you presume they will for a moment, they're just within a point to Liverpool. So it's really hard to make sense of this whole thing right now.
Well, yeah, I think the Van Dijk injury, apart from them losing a big player, in fact, it actually does involve them losing a big player, I think Liverpool have got to get over this. They have to forge on without this player. Some of the mood music coming out of Liverpool over that injury. Listen, it's understandable. You lose a player who's been so. Essentially, they signed Van Dijk and they became European champions and they became Premier League champions because they finally had a great defender. But Let's look at other teams in the recent past. Manchester City lost Kevin De Bruyne, who you'd have to say is their best player, still won the title. I mean, we go back to Roy Keane again. I remember Roy Keane getting injured in that first incident with Alf-Inge Haaland back in 1997, a long time ago. I remember Alex Ferguson's reaction to that was almost, it was almost not mentioned, the fact that Roy Keane was out, and he put Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt together, or whatever combination he came up with, and United forged on without Roy Keane.
They didn't win the title, though.
They didn't win the title, but they made a good fist of it.
Yeah.
And Roy Keane was a forgotten man until he came back the next summer, and that's how it used to be. Some of the, okay, Liverpool aren't in control of the social media, but I mean, was it not that the Liverpool Echo website ran a sort of photo montage of Virgil van Dijk with a sad guitar music over the top of it. The guy is not deceased. He'll be back soon. He's a good player. But Liverpool need to get over the fact that Virgil van Dijk's gone. And there's been this thing where they've been complaining about the Pickford incident, how Pickford should have been sent off. It's what's done is done. I've always operated under the referee's decision is final. Obviously, it's not final anymore because we've got VAR and everything that comes from that. But ultimately, if Liverpool want to get back in the title race or even be part of the title race, time to move on. I'm sorry.
Jurgen Klopp said we'll wait for him like a good wife is waiting when the husband is in jail.
Well, that's lovely, but but they're going to have to play away during that time, to forgive the pun. But yes.
The interesting thing now, interesting is one word for it, I suspect.
Yeah.
Liverpool don't see it that way, but Matip didn't train, and obviously Adrian continues in goal. They're looking at some kind of combination, probably Gomez with Fabinho. So
yes.
there's sort of any Premier League team now who looks at them will think, this is a very different prospect. And a bit like when Manchester United really starting to fade and teams stopped going to Old Trafford with fear. You can really expose some deficiencies that might have been there even previous to the new sense of oomph that you might have had going there. So this gets really interesting because what Aston Villa did, what they did, freakish as it was, even with Van Dijk in the team.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's fair to say that Liverpool have, like many teams in the Premier League, perhaps been affected by COVID in a way that, we don't really publicise which players are out with it until it comes to the point where we have to. But I get the impression that has affected Liverpool. Liverpool also had that very strange season last season. Everyone had a strange season where they had to win 2 more matches and then the season was done. So essentially, since March, the Wednesday night in March when they lost to Atletico Madrid, they spent a long time without really playing competitive football. And that's not really the way Jurgen Klopp likes to tune his teams. The game against Arsenal, the one in which, again, Roy Keane, we mentioned again, accused him of being sloppy. A lot of Liverpool fans were really exhilarated by the performance there, and they were excellent. But those signs at the back have been there all season, that it came undone against Aston Villa, and now they've lost Van Dijk. Now, that is a crisis situation, and it's a real test of Jurgen Klopp's mettle. Now, things like this happened to him a couple of times, I think, at Borussia Dortmund, and there was a point, wasn't there, towards the end of his time at Borussia Dortmund, where they almost dropped into the relegation zone when players got injured and players got tired. And let's see if that pattern is repeated. I'll be very surprised because Liverpool are so far ahead of everybody else, apart from Manchester City. But it's possible that something like that does happen. When the wheels come off a machine like that, crazy things can happen. But as you said before, Joe, crazy things are happening to everybody in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, on balance, I would still back them to win the title. I mean, they were still very good in many ways against Everton. They didn't look like like they were shell-shocked from the Villa thing. It's just they can't be as dominant without Van Dijk, and whenever Alisson gets back, he gets back. What about City then? How poised are they to take advantage is the question. Like, United just look still too far off it. Chelsea, it's whatever's going on. You know, they have registered Peter Cech as a goalkeeper in their Premier League squad this evening. I kid you not.
Yes.
Yeah. So City still look like the best placed to challenge them. Where are they this year, do you think, John?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I think that signing of Ruben Diaz is hugely important. And he played very well, actually, against Arsenal at the weekend. And I mean, a bit like Liverpool, it rests on a centre back really, on how far they can go. I suppose the question is always going to be, at this point, we're into the 5th season with Guardiola.
Unprecedented 5.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, previously in his 4th season at Barcelona, I mean, I seem to recall him simply getting bored and trying to play 10 midfielders in a team and stuff like that, and you know, attempting sort of free jazz in his team. But I don't think that's the way things are at the moment. City have a good chance of winning the title this season, particularly with Liverpool's personnel problems. But it's ultimately it's about Pep's motivation and his ability to motivate those players. The impression I've always got is that it is pretty exhausting playing for Pep Guardiola, just as it probably is playing for Jurgen Klopp, and it's whether he can raise those players. I would say, though, that the strength of that squad, with a few absentees, when I suppose the old guard starts slipping out the door, with Vincent Kompany, David Silva, it's not as strong as it was 2-3 years ago. But yeah, I mean, they've got to have a good chance. But as I say, Ruben Diaz, that's the key player. He's got to work out for them to win it, I would suggest.
I suspect it's also quite tiring and exhausting to be Pep Guardiola. He sounded a real note of humility this evening. You know, you talk about the free jazz at Barcelona and pushing the boundaries. So they're in Champions League action tomorrow. They have Porto and Marseille and Olympiacos in their group. And he is still talking about the Lyon game this evening. So he's saying, Lyon was a tough moment. I felt so responsible for this, how the club and the players fought to achieve everything, and I was not able to drive them. Still right now, I feel responsible watching the game back, but we have to accept the reality. We're not good enough. We didn't play bad. I mean, his team selection was so roundly criticised, and you suspect he's not unaware of that now. That is a kind of chastening experience for him, and maybe there's a certain degree of hurt, embarrassment, anger about the whole thing, which has rejuvenated him. It was just interesting this evening. That's what he's saying. So we will see where he is. Slaven Bilic was talking, John, about the PPV situation. So we're not as familiar with it over here because the PPV thing doesn't apply. We have Premier Sports over here. So, for instance, I watched United Newcastle Saturday. I didn't have to pay extra or just for the game as such. So we're in a slightly different boat. But effectively, all these games had been free. However, as of now, matches which hadn't already been selected for broadcast in October, including West Brom 0, Burnley 0, were priced at $14.95 per game. So Bilic is after coming out and slamming the whole thing. Football is not polo or golf. It's not my money, it's their money. Football shouldn't be free, but it should be affordable. It's a sport for the masses, a working class sport. It should be affordable for everybody. And I saw as well, Newcastle fans, instead of paying for that Manchester United game, by way of protest, they raised £20,000 sterling and gave it to charity rather than hand it over to the broadcasters. This must be a huge issue amongst fans over there, big talking point, a lot of anger, and just a sense that, you know, football is completely taking the mick at this stage.
It's a total PR own goal by the Premier League. And I suppose one thing, a friend of mine pointed out to me that £15 will be the price that they've dropped themselves down to. So you can only imagine what they originally targeted at. You know, so you know you're probably looking at 30 quid or something. Now, you know, listen, in these times where we, like you, are pretty much locked in our own homes, it was reassuring to have the Premier League there, and I you know, you could watch every game if you wanted to. But no, the Premier League has decided that they need more money. Now, obviously they're out of pocket due to the gates and so on. But there's never this point, is there, in the Premier League and the Premier League's owners, when they're not trying to make a quid. And at this point in history, and it is a historic moment, you would have thought that a certain amount of awareness, self-awareness might have occurred. Now, at the same time as this, we've got the clubs pushing for Project Big Picture. You've got, this Super League that you probably spoke to Philippe about. There isn't, it's disappointing, though not surprising, that the people that run football clubs have seen COVID-19 and the havoc it's brought upon people's lives, and the fact that it's denied people the chance to go and see their teams and the community aspects. They've seen this as a business opportunity, and this is just the latest thing. It's possibly something in which they're floating about for the future. So do you move to something like Project Big Picture? You make your biggest games. You make most of the games available over a TV platform, and then your biggest games you put on pay-per-view. And it's almost like they're floating a boat, and they're using the crisis that we're all dealing with as a chance to try out new ideas to make money. It's hugely disappointing, but as I say, it's not surprising. I don't know a single person who has paid for pay-per-view, apart from a couple of colleagues at The Guardian who paid it to do a minute-by-minute of it, obviously claimed it as expenses back. But I find the whole thing deeply unedifying. Football, and particularly Premier League football, it's a dirty game. It really is.
I mentioned Peter Cech's in the Chelsea squad. They've obviously had to hand in their official squads. The news which caught most people's eye is that Mesut Ozil isn't in the Arsenal squad. So, I mean, this is just an extraordinary fall from grace when you stop and think about it. I always remember I was in Cologne when Ireland played Germany. This was probably it was either 2013 or 14. I think it might well have been 13. Someone will correct me, in advance of the World Cup, probably. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. And honestly, he was just a joy. I mean, he was just a joy to watch in person, and he moved in a silkier way than everybody around him. He just caught the eye and stood out in such a way. And I'm sure you've seen that, having been at games, even more impressive in person, arguably, than on TV. So he's not even in the squad, 32 years of age, £350,000 a week, and this thing is just coming to a sorry end. What is the word on Ozil, John? What's happened here?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think. The first time I saw him play, I think, was at the 2010 World Cup, playing for Germany against Ghana. Yeah, fantastic. And at that time, so he'd be 22 or so, a perpetual motion player in a way that perhaps a little later he wasn't like that. But well, there are a few strands to this, aren't there? He and the previous manager, Unai Emery, did not get on. That was clear. But of course, Arsene Wenger and the club hierarchy at that time had created a problem for the club in agreeing to this £350,000 a week contract, which means, and a bit like Gareth Bale actually from Real Madrid, is that if you're dissatisfied with this player, how do you get rid of him? Real Madrid found a way. Arsenal have not found a way. You also had, in recent times, you had this criticism of the Chinese government's treatment of the Uyghur people over in China. And Arsenal did a fairly embarrassing climb down there. They didn't back their man over that.
Yeah, and he's so completely right about that situation. It was very admirable, and Arsenal in many ways have got away with the way they welched on him. Yeah,
I mean Arsenal. Okay, again, we go back to how the people that own Premier League clubs and the way they see things. They see that as protection, as affecting their bottom line rather than being a moral point of view, which he did. But then you've got, I mean, the thing is, until lockdown, he was in the team under Mikel Arteta, or certainly playing a part He hasn't been since then, so something's gone awry there. But he's been trolling the club as well, because there's the Gunnosaurus thing where he said he'd pay this guy's wages and stuff like that. That was fantastic, and fair enough. I mean, so you've got the situation, and it's you have players, and he's not the only one. You've got Danny Rose at Tottenham as well. You've got players on big money who are frozen out of squads and are just sat there collecting the money. I mean, you remember Joe Winston Bogart, and Winston Bogart, we all laughed, and I think at the time he was probably on about £30,000 a week, and how we laughed at Chelsea wasting the money. Well, this is 10 times that. And for a player to be fair to Winston Bogart, infinitely more talent, a great player to watch on his day, a player that so many Arsenal fans idolised for so long, and he's just been left to rot. And you do wonder where he's going to go next after this. I suggest China's probably out, but there's a player, just 32, and a lot of football left to play. Someone somewhere is going to get a good player at some point. But again, there is, from Arsenal's point of view, there has always been the intimation that maybe Ozil's motivation isn't quite what it should have been. And the one thing we do know about Mikel Arteta is that he is a highly motivated manager. I mean, if you talk about Pep Guardiola, there is a case that since Arteta's left, that City's iron-hard determination to win has dropped off a bit, because I think Arteta was a very good, it was almost like a bad cop alongside Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola's pretty bad cop. So, I think Arteta's a disciplinarian. If you've got a disinterested player, okay, let's get him out of the picture and leave the money men to deal with that.
Yeah, well, he's certainly done that. His contract's up in the summer, so he'll be going on a free, you suspect, then. John Brewin, football writer, great to have you with us. Thanks, John, appreciate it.
Cheers, Joe. Good to talk to you.
Likewise. Still 1-1 in Paris, 1-1 between PSG and Manchester United. Paul Pogba has come on, by the way, in that game.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. New normal, same old football. Paddy Power. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
This week on the Home Show podcast. How do you fancy a 5-star hotel and spa? Not for you, but for your dog. We hear from one dog behaviourist who treats her pooches like royalty. Why are women the driving force behind the redevelopment of rural Ireland? And is the bidet dead? The do's and don'ts when redesigning your bathroom.
The Home Show with Sinead Ryan.
Listen to the podcast now at newstalk.com and on the Newstalk app.
The efficiency of air fibre coming into our building really helped keep our brand alive at a really difficult time.
Air Gigabit Fibre Broadband for Business is a faster, more reliable connection from €30 a month. Just ask Nora Lynn Murray of the Armada Hotel in Clare. For more, call 1800 400 555. Air, let's make possible. Subject to availability, €30 a month for the first 4 months, €55 a month thereafter ex-VAT. 24-month minimum contract period for 1 gigabit FTTP. Early cease charges may apply. Offer available for a limited time. For full details and terms, see business.air.ie.
Yes!
You're listening to a motorist who's just changed to AIG.
Yeehaw!
Yep. He's also received a 20% discount because he purchased car insurance online.
Whoopee!
I think that means thank you, AIG. Make that change. Visit AIG.ie, where you'll find great savings on car insurance.
For a quote, go to AIG.ie and see how much you could save. Normal underwriting acceptance criteria apply. Applies to new AIG direct car customers only. Minimum premium applies. Offer valid until December 31st, 2020. AIG Europe SA is authorised by the Luxembourg Ministry of Finance and supervised by the Luxembourg Commissioner for Insurance and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business.
Certainty. With Volkswagen commercial vehicles, it's included as standard. The Crafter, Transporter and the all-new 5th generation Caddy are more innovative, dynamic and efficient than ever before. Now with HP Finance from 0%, purchase contributions of up to €3,500 and service plans from €9.99. They're the smart next step for your business. For vans and offers you can rely on always. Contact your local Volkswagen commercial vehicles dealer or visit volkswagenvans.ie and leave the rest to us. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply.
When it comes to reviewing your finances, a good place to start is by reviewing your mortgage. It's something few people ever do, but if you never review your mortgage, you'll never know if there might be a better option. That's where the Ulster Bank mortgage team could help. Wherever you bank, be sure to talk to us and see if switching could make a difference. Just search Ulster Bank Switch. Ulster Bank. Help for what matters. Over 18s only. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Littlewoods Ireland has all the toys that your kids are dreaming about. Our online store is fully stocked with this year's most wanted brands. From board games to sports cars, gaming consoles and dolls. Shop from the comfort of your home and don't miss out on the toys they really want. Brands you love delivered at littlewoodsIreland.ie.
I'm Keith Sinnott, orthopaedic consultant. Bowel and bladder control, hand function, so feeding yourself, dangerous pressure sores. These, along with paralysis, are some of the consequences you don't think of when you think of spinal injuries. And a spinal injury is something you don't think of when you give a child a quad bike or scrambler. Quads and scramblers are heavy, dangerous pieces of machinery that can cause life-changing injuries and deaths. They aren't toys. So please, give a different, safer gift this Christmas. From the Road Safety Authority and An Garda Síochána.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Minimal contact in stadiums shouldn't stop the usual suspects from going down. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Not too much change in the football. Coutinho scored a third for Barcelona to go with Ansu Fati's and Messi's. They're 3-1 up against Fradi from Hungary. Manchester United still 1-1 away to PSG. PSG have not been good tonight, by the way. That's been part of this story. But United will be very happy with the draw if they can hang on for the next 12 minutes or so. And at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea haven't conceded, which is the good news, but they haven't scored either. 0-0 at home to Sevilla this evening. Lazio 3-1 up against Borussia Dortmund. And Juventus, they're in Barcelona's group. Juventus, they're 2-0 up away to Dinamo Kiev. That is a full-time Juventus 2-0 winners in that game. We've got big names continuing here as part of our Cadbury FC series of remote road shows. So far we've had Gary Neville, Teddy Sheringham, we had Sol Campbell and Ian Wright, Packy Bonner, Shay Given as well. Next couple of weeks coming up very soon, I think next week in fact, it's Glenn Hoddle and Harry Redknapp together. More details to come on where you can watch the show on our social channels in just a few days. All with thanks to Cadbury FC. You can check out cadburyfc.com for updates on promotions and giveaways. Now, as I'm sure lots of you know, Vera Pauw's Republic of Ireland take on Ukraine this Friday in the Euro qualifiers. There is a do-or-die quality to this game. Vera Pauw has called it a cup final. A win would cement Ireland's place in the top two of the group, and a playoff, a draw more than acceptable, certainly gets them into the top two, you would think, and a very good chance of a playoff as well. Rianna Jarrett was speaking to the media today via Zoom, and naturally COVID comes up initially here. Jarrett firstly asked if the players are more aware of the risks after what happened to the men's team during their camp.
Yeah, obviously hearing all the reports that came out of the men's game, I think in terms of COVID throughout the world at the minute, I think a lot of countries are going through what they are calling the second phase, and cases are starting to rise quite rapidly. So for us, obviously, the last camp, we were fortunate enough that we managed to get through the whole camp without any kind of COVID cases or any scares. But for us, we know that we have to up our ante from the first minute we're in camp to the time we leave camp and to the time we go back to our clubs. Obviously, seeing with what happened with the men's team, it hits that little bit closer to home that you can't be too careful. So in terms of us, we have great medical staff here and we have great guidelines. So we're just making sure that we follow them. We take no risks and make sure that we have everybody on that flight to Ukraine, but also have everybody available for the game on Friday, which is the most important part.
How much trickier, I suppose, is it at international level? Because like you said there, you're totally in camp, whereas I know at club level, okay, you have to abide by the restrictions and stuff, but you still have that opportunity to go home and kind of, in some ways, switch off from being constantly switched on and conscious of what you have to do for COVID.
Obviously, it's a completely different setup in terms of from our clubs. And that we've got so many different players coming from different clubs and different countries. Obviously, for those of us playing at professional clubs, we are fortunate enough that we do get tested with our clubs. But it's great that the girls playing at home in Ireland, they have been able to get tested before they come into camp. And then obviously first day of camp, then we're going to get tested as well. But obviously we don't have the luxury of going home to our own houses and being able to switch off. But I suppose any of us playing international football, yes, the COVID is a new situation, but we're used to travelling, we're used to being away, we're used to being out of our comfort zone. I think it's just important that we all work together. As I said, we have the guidelines, we all have the protocols, and it's very important that we all stick together, we all help each other out. And as I said, the task here is to make sure that we have everybody available for Friday's game.
Does it give a different kind of feel about the place?
Yeah, it's camp is definitely that little bit different. Obviously, we're all very familiar with each other. We're all very friendly. We all get on off the pitch. We're all used to kind of gathering around each other. Even like Irish, we love when we greet each other. We love to give each other hugs. So obviously, that's all been taken away from it. But we're all fortunate that we're able to be here. Obviously, with everything that's going on around the world, the fact that football is still going on is fantastic. The fact that we're still able to play these qualifiers, even though they are later than what was originally planned, the fact that we are able to play them is fantastic. So we'll put everything else aside. And as I said, the important part is that we all remain healthy and we all hopefully remain COVID-free and can kid out on Friday.
Obviously, a very high-profile knee injury over the weekend. Virgil van Dijk come back stronger than ever. You've gone through this experience yourself. I'm sure you're proof that players can recover and get stronger. Do you think after you come through such a serious injury, you feel both physically and mentally stronger?
Obviously a serious injury like that is a long one. There's no shortcuts in terms of the work and the graft that you have to do to get back on the pitch. I know for me personally, I definitely learned a lot about myself mentally. I was able to push myself to new limits, and I think that definitely helped me not only on the pitch but off the pitch in everyday life as well. And in terms of physically, I think me personally, I think I'm in the best shape that I've been in. I think in my whole career, even before I sustained any of the knee injuries. So it definitely is proof that if you put your mind to it and you put in the work, you can definitely. There's no reasons why you can't come back better than ever.
And just in terms of playing with Brighton now, with the Irish contingent there as well, it must be just. Is this the best fun you've had as a footballer?
Obviously we've got myself, Megan Connolly, and Denise O'Sullivan playing at Brighton, which is fantastic. Obviously we've played alongside each other internationally for the last number of years, and myself and Denise, we played underage together as well. And funnily enough, the three of us are actually living together as well. So it's always nice to have that familiar face. For me, it's obviously my first step up into a professional environment. So I'm really enjoying the fact that I don't have to go to work, kind of sit at a desk, kind of Monday to Friday for 8 hours and then do the training on the side. So definitely enjoying that, and I'm slowly starting to find my form over there as well. So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
And just one final one for me, obviously the Ukraine game, the significance of it, what's at stake, but also the fact that it was the first fixture of Vera. It's a year since. What do you think has improved vastly since Vera took over?
Obviously, I think from previous managers, we had a foundation, and we all knew that under Colin defensively, we had that foundation, and then when Vera came in, at the time she came in, it's allowed us to progress kind of in our attacking form. I think that's been we've seen glimpses of what our attacking players can do. You look at the likes of Kate McCabe, Denise O'Sullivan, Leanne Kiernan, fantastic players going. It's time that we've started to play to each other's strengths, and I think Vera has definitely helped that, and we are looking to play more of an attacking game, and I think we've shown that, and we've a lot more to come. I think there's a lot more to come from us individually and collectively, and hopefully under Vera, as we've seen progress so far, we can continue to see that.
You mentioned Denise there, and you mentioned Katie there, and it's fantastic to see obviously the likes of yourself and many others flying the flag so high over in England and further afield. That must give you great confidence after the weekend. You're coming in bouncing off. I suppose Katie's goal yesterday was quite a highlight. So yeah, confident ahead of Friday.
Yeah, obviously confidence is key, and that comes from everyone playing, and obviously Katie's playing in a fantastic Arsenal team this season. They've started the league very well, and Katie personally has been been in fine form, and you can see that with the goal that she got yesterday. You've seen Denise has come into the Women's Super League and it hasn't phased her whatsoever. Denise has always shown her qualities no matter where she's played, and she showed that in her short spell that she's been in with Brighton as well, which obviously I have the luxury of seeing it day in, day out in training, but others are now starting to see Denise kind of on that world stage in the Women's Super League, and it's fantastic. As I said, for us as a team, it's important that the players are playing. You look at Amber Barrett in Germany, her team have started the league fantastically. She's got 3 goals in 3 games, and it's important that we're all confident coming into camp, and obviously that confidence will feed into each other, and we just need everybody in kind of their best form going into Friday, and we'll see what happens then.
How do you find preparing for a side as structured defensively as Ukraine?
Obviously for us it's a different challenge. Obviously playing against the bigger teams, you look at the likes of Germany, we knew going into that game that they were going to have a lot of the ball. So this time, the last time we played Ukraine, that they played with 5 at the back, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do the same thing this time around. Obviously they're coming off the back of a good result against Greece the last time around for them. So who knows what way they're going to set up, but we will prepare. For a team that does set up defensively, as I said, we're looking to work on our attacking sense, but we'll look at not trying to force things, trying to be patient, trying to do the right things at the right time, and hopefully we can get a good performance and get that win on Friday.
Vera said yesterday that Ukraine underestimated you guys in the first game. Is that something you felt as players?
Well, obviously going into the game, we knew that they were seeded higher than us in the group. We obviously focused on what we knew of them and kind of the footage that we had on them, but it was all about implementing our game and kind of putting them on the back foot, and I think that we done that early doors. Obviously they possibly expected something different from us and did underestimate us back then. Obviously they've seen it firsthand by playing against us, and obviously they have a lot more access to obviously what's gone on in the group. So I think that Friday's game will be a different game. I think they will be a different outfit. Obviously they've got a lot to prove, and it is like a cup final, kind of a winner takes all sort of a job on Friday. So it's going to be a tough one, but one that we're certainly ready for.
As you mentioned, that winner take all kind of aspect to it, is there kind of pressure on you now heading into the game? Do you feel that pressure? Are you just trying to shut all that out?
No, I don't think we feel pressure. Obviously we've put ourselves in this position, and we've prepared well for every game that we've done so far. Obviously we've done our analysis on other teams, and it's our performances so far that have put us in this position. We haven't been relying on anyone else, and it's great that we're in this position, and going into Friday's game, it's in our hands. So in terms of that, yes, there's added pressure. There's always going to be pressure in a game like that, but I think we'll use it to our advantage, and we won't let it's important that we don't let the occasion get to us, that we stick to the game plan, that we are all singing from the same hymn sheet, you can say, and that we're all focused and prepared for Friday, and that's what this week is about.
And I know you can't look beyond Friday at the moment, but are you relishing the chance to have another go at Germany?
Obviously, we a few lessons against Germany the last time, but as I said, we haven't even looked that far ahead. Our focus since the final whistle of that Germany game has been the Ukraine game on Friday, and nothing has changed there. This week is all about Ukraine, and we won't be looking any further than that. As I said, your most important game is always your next game, and that's certainly the case at the minute.
Rianna Jarrett there, it will be really important come the Ukraine game this week. Lots of more build-up to it across the week here and off the ball. Marcus Rashford has done his thing. A brilliant goal, really good goal, edge of the area, great strike across the goalkeeper into the far corner. Manchester United 2-1 up in Paris with injury time only to go. It's just gone into the 90th minute, 3 minutes of added time, and this would be a massive 3 points for United. This is a tough group, but Leipzig in it as well. So United 2-1 up on PSG.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. New normal, same old football. Paddy Power. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Over 2 centuries, one family business in Dublin has earned a name for excellence in funeral care. Every day they continue to work hard to retain that good name. The name is Fannigans. Dubliners trust Fannigans to take care of them on their final journey with empathy, compassion and dignity. And Fannigans never forget whose journey it is. In over 200 years, some things don't change. Flanagan's. When your thoughts are with them, ours are with you. The Flanagan Group includes Carnegie's, Kirwins and Nichols.
Hey, it's me again, the TV. Since my family gave me Now TV, there's no more endlessly searching for something they want to watch, because now I don't do filler TV, just killer TV. If my family want movies, I've got blockbusters. Comedy, yes please, way better than the dad jokes in this house. Or crime dramas, I've got loads. And they're never gonna guess who did it. Now they can watch whatever they're in the mood for.
What's your TV got for you tonight? Now TV. 18 plus month passes auto renew. Terms apply. At Guaranteed Irish, we believe enterprise is at the heart of thriving communities.
Did you know that studyclicks.ie, Ireland's largest study website, is used by more than 150,000 second-level students and over 30,000 teachers? With innovative study and teaching tools offered completely digitally, StudyClicks empowers students to learn independently, helping to support online education in Ireland during the pandemic. Guaranteed Irish welcomes companies that are altogether better choices for our communities, so look out for it. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
If you're looking for a new car, choose brighter with SEAT. Like the new Ateca with SEAT Connect, a seamless link between your smartphone and your car. Or the new Tarraco FR, bringing another level of design and sportiness to Ireland's large SUV of the year. And there's the all-new Leon, our most connected and widely praised car by Irish motoring journalists. You can choose either PCP finance from just 0% or an online scrappage voucher worth up to €5,000. And you can choose a 3-year service plan for just $9.99 a month. The new SEAT Ateca and the 211 SEAT range. Choose brighter. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland, trading as SEAT Financial Services. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit seat.ie for further information.
We all need to keep an eye out for one another during COVID-19, especially our older and more vulnerable neighbours. Making sure no one feels overlooked during these tough times, Alone is doing important work helping older people across Ireland experiencing loneliness, ill health or poverty. But in order to keep helping, they need yours now. Please visit alone.ie/donate. Together, we can celebrate and connect older people in our communities with Alone. Supported by Guinness. Always drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie.
A freshly painted room deserves that finishing touch. A fresh new window blind from Acme Blinds. 100% family owned and guaranteed Irish. At Acme Blinds, we're back to work safely manufacturing stylish and affordable window coverings for homes, schools and businesses nationwide. Our inspirational showrooms are now open, and at Acme Blinds, we make your family's safety our priority. See Facebook and acmeblinds.com.
Don't you just love it when you find that special something that you weren't even looking for? Like that fab new coat to add to your winter wardrobe, or a new athleisure wear outfit. Because let's face it, you can never have enough athleisure wear. Liffey Valley has all your favourite brands and all your favourite retailers. So you'll find what you're shopping for and you'll love what you find. Shop it, love it. Liffey Valley. See liffeyvalley.ie.
Football on Off the Ball with Paddy Power. Minimal contact in stadiums shouldn't stop the usual suspects from going down. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Well, I would think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer quite likes Paris. Manchester United beaten PSG this evening 2-1, and it will really help things along in that group, which is a tough group. Leipzig winning 2-0 this evening in their match in Group H against Istanbul. But Manchester United 2-1 winners away to PSG is a full-time result this evening. Elsewhere in Group G, I mentioned Juventus already 2-0 winners earlier this evening against Dinamo Kiev. Barcelona turned on the style late on against Fradi from Hungary. Dembele with their 5th, Pedri with their 4th, Coutinho their 3rd, Ansu Fati scored their 2nd. Messi opened the scoring with the penalty on 27 minutes. So 5-1 this evening, Barcelona. Chelsea and Sevilla finished 0-0. Never made the breakthrough at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea this evening. Elsewhere, Lazio 3, Borussia Dortmund 1 is a full-time score, although Haaland scored a great goal for Dortmund in that game. And Club Brugge 2-1 winners away to Zenit St. Petersburg. So there we are. Champions League up and running in a very nice way for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in particular. Tomorrow morning, OTB AM, 7:30 as usual. All our social channels or the OTB Sports app have Clare's Tony Kelly on. They play Limerick in the hurling at Thurles this Sunday. A reaction to tonight's win in Paris for United from Andy Mitten. And then tomorrow night, amongst other things, Rob Kearney, he has a new book out. We'll be chatting to him. Dan McDonnell on the show as well as Liverpool take on Ajax away. In the meantime, Tom Dunn on the way.